she also mentioned to me that Mercy was drunk. That was the first time I was told about Mercy and alcohol. We didn't know, and we are not sure about it.
Scholar says at some point revelers started leaving. Most of them say they were heading to another club. Scholar, Mercy, and a lady identified as Kakai remained. The three girls were now sharing a table with the Juja Member of Parliament, William Kabogo. Scholastica says they moved from their table and headed to another room, but not before Mercy stepped out, only for Scholar to be called that Mercy had broken a few things. Scholastica says she found Mercy sitting outside the main gate, and it took her and a waiter to take her back into the house. At this point, William Kabogo intervened and asked Mercy why she had broken items in the house. Scholar claims Mercy was not herself. She did not provide an answer. At this point, she says Mercy threw herself on the ground and started yelling. Jacqueline, who was watching the drama unfold, says Mercy was grabbing and throwing away anything and everything she will come across. What had started as a quiet evening out was fast turning into a night of drama. Scholar says Mercy had become so unruly that at one point she fell on the floor and in the process injured herself. Scholar says Mercy was bleeding from the mouth. In what appeared as the last provocative action from Mercy, Scholar claims her auntie smashed picture frames on top of a table. Her actions, according to Scholar's statement, annoyed William Kabogo, who got hold of her. It was at this point that Kabogo had Mercy slapped. It is not clear where the incident was unfolding at, but Scholar says by the time she was locating her personal belongings so that they could leave as required by the Member of Parliament, the MP's bodyguards had already taken Mercy to the main gate. Embarrassed and in the company of a drunk aunt, Scholastica claims they stood outside Wasini luxury homes as she tried to call for a taxi. All this time, Mercy was still uncontrollable. Scholar says as she struggled to call for a taxi home, Mercy grabbed her belongings, now in the hands of her niece, and started running. Unable to run after her, Scholar ran back into the compound, called on the bodyguards, and together they started chasing after her. Scholar says that Mercy, realizing she was being followed, ran into Waiyaki way. The guards managed to get hold of her, slapped her before dragging her back to her senior apartment. Scholastica says Mercy bolted again, ran uphill towards Waiyaki way. She tried to run after her, but it was too late. She was too fast for her. Scholar claims she returned to the apartments and tried to ask for help. At Wasini, Scholastica says the then Juja Member of Parliament, William Kabogo, asked one of his bodyguards to drop her and her friend Jacqueline home. According to Scholastica, they tried looking for Mercy on their way out, but they couldn't find her. Scholastica was dropped off by the Juja Member of Parliament's bodyguard. It wasn't until the following day that Scholastica handed over Mercy Keino's handbag and cell phone to the boyfriend.
This was her aunt, our younger aunt. She just invited her. Mercy wasn't going for a party. She was going to pick shoes from my aunt, Scholar. And Scholar said there's a party in this place, why don't we go? And my sister was like, okay, because she was now close with Scholar. So that's how she ended up there.
From the gate, because they did not allow us to go in. And we found a fellow who had actually seen Mercy and the trouble that she had with some fellows there. And he told me that Mercy ran away, and he showed me the direction. And for the first time, and some two fellows followed her, and they were able to catch her, and then she was dragged back. And they told me that before she was pulled back, they had some encounter around the main road, and that there were some security guards who knew what really happened. And I went and I met those fellows, and they told me even the conversation that they had. Mercy at that particular point was saying that she wants to go home. She was saying that she needed to be given her mobile back and a handbag.
A day later, the story of a University of Nairobi student killed by a hit-and-run motorist became public news, and immediately the media picked up and ran with it.
Urging the government to ensure that complete and detailed investigations are done.
Already, police have begun raising questions over the dents in the Mercedes-Benz that have allegedly been hurriedly repaired and repainted. Police will also be seeking to find out why the Mercedes-Benz's registration number was changed.
The deceased was found dead less than 2 kilometers from Wasini luxury apartments in Westlands, where she had gone for a party.
Police officers were looking for a driver of a private motor vehicle suspected to have been involved in the accident. Among those called in for questioning was the owner of the motor vehicle, Wycliffe Okello Lugwili. Lugwili was placed in the way of a body that a motorist spotted on the highway the morning after Mercy Keino was reported missing. The father says the daughter was a humble girl who couldn't hurt a fly.
Mercy never told me that she had any trouble. Mercy is not the kind of person who would actually go into trouble with somebody, because I've never seen anything like that in her life. As I told you, the others, children can easily fight each other, but Mercy was more of a peacemaker in the family, and therefore that was not her character. So even me, I've never felt that there was somebody planning to kill her. No.
To many crime observers, many things were not adding up. If Mercy was too drunk and unruly, how fast could she outrun her niece and two bodyguards? Where exactly was Mercy when the niece was trying to make frantic calls to get a taxi to take her home? Scholastica does not say what other help she sought after Mercy broke away from her and ran off. A traffic police officer says the moment he arrived at the scene of the incident, he noticed the body of a female adult, which he described as being badly off. It was as if the body had been run over by a motorist. Both hands and legs had been fractured. The police officer made a startling revelation. He says there was no blood around the scene of the accident. The body, the officer says, appeared as if it had rolled, and despite walking for several meters, he could not establish the actual place of the accident. In a normal hit-and-run accident, the police officer said there should have been blood at the scene. Mercy's body apparently had not drained any blood. After several weeks of investigations and no success, police investigators forwarded the Mercy Keino murder file to the Director of Public Prosecution. The DPP took the longer route. Mercy Keino's killing became a subject of a public inquest, an initial list of 12 witnesses increasing to 65. Next week on Case Files, we examine the statements from witnesses and the glaring contradictions as the public inquest into Mercy Keino's murder comes to an end. Case Files, This is Mercy continues next week.